A brooch, small, silver, shaped like a crown, placed right over the heart, and in the world of royalty, that is never just fashion. That was a message. Let's talk about what really happened. On this particular occasion, while the cameras focused on smiles and polite waves, something far more calculated was unfolding behind palace walls. King Charles III had just made a major move, granting his youngest brother, Prince Edward, the historic title of Duke of Edinburgh. To the public, it looked simple: a tribute, a family moment, a nod to the late Prince Philip. But insiders saw something else, a shift, a quiet one. Because while the royal family smiled for the cameras, whispers were already spreading through elite circles. Not loud accusations, not dramatic headlines, just careful observations. A seating arrangement here, a missing appearance there, a brooch, chosen at exactly the right moment. And suddenly those small details began to form a pattern. What many people don't know is that in royal life, nothing is accidental, not jewelry, not positioning, not even silence. Accounts from journalists and insiders reveal that brooches, in particular, are not decoration. They are signals. Placed near the heart, they represent loyalty, power, alignment. So, when Queen Camilla stepped out wearing a very specific brooch tied to Charles's royal cipher, people noticed. Experts noted it immediately. Because that brooch, crafted in the shape of a crown detailed with sapphires, rubies, and emeralds, was not just elegant. It was a statement of authority, a reminder, a claim. But here's where things get interesting. While Camilla made her statement through symbolism, Edward made his through presence. No speeches, no interviews, just showing up at the right places, at the right times, and sometimes not showing up at all. That's when insiders started paying closer attention, because the quietest moves are often the most powerful. But this was just the beginning. To understand this shift, you need to understand Edward. For most of his life, Prince Edward was the royal no one talked about. Not controversial like Prince Andrew, not rebellious like Prince Harry, not central like Prince William. He was just there, doing his duty, quietly, year after year. Royal insiders remember him as the background prince, the one who didn't make noise, the one who didn't demand attention. But that was never weakness. That was strategy. What many people don't know is that between 2025 and 2026, something changed. Edward and his wife, Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, began taking on more visible roles: international tours, public engagements, representation duties. And they did it flawlessly. No drama, no headlines, just consistency. And in the royal system, that matters. Because while others faced scandals and controversy, Edward remained steady, reliable, trusted. Polls even started reflecting it. About 50–51% of the public viewed Edward and Sophie positively. Their unfavorable ratings stayed incredibly low, 19% and 12%. Compare that to Camilla. Her approval dropped to 42%. And suddenly the numbers told a different story. The background prince was now more liked than the queen. Just let that sink in. And in a monarchy, public support isn't just popularity, it's power. Because the crown may be inherited, but influence is earned. But there's more to this story. Because Edward didn't just gain public favor. He gained something else: position. And that's where the pattern begins to emerge. On that particular occasion, everything came into focus during Easter 2026. All eyes were on one moment: the arrival of Catherine, Princess of Wales. After a long absence, she appeared with William and their children. Healthy, strong, united. It was more than a family appearance. It was a signal. And right beside them, Edward, standing close to William. visible, present, aligned. That placement mattered, because in royal events, positioning is everything. Who stands next to whom? Who arrives together? Who is missing? And this time, certain people were missing. Notably parts of Camilla's circle. Even Sophie's absence raised eyebrows. Officially, she was unwell. But insiders weren't fully convinced, because in royal life, absence speaks, sometimes louder than presence. And when you combine all these details, Edward's positioning, Sophie's absence, the Wales family's strong return, a picture begins to form. A quiet realignment, one that points toward the future, toward William, not Camilla. Meanwhile, another factor intensified the situation, the fallout from Andrew. After his removal from royal duties and relocation, a gap opened inside the family structure, and Edward stepped in, not publicly, but effectively. He handled internal tensions, managed situations, maintained stability, without ever drawing attention to himself. That's what made his rise different. It wasn't loud, it was controlled. But the full truth was still unfolding. When you step back and look at everything together, the pattern becomes clear. This was never about one event. It was about a shift in power. Accounts from journalists and insiders reveal that Edward's strategy is built on three things: consistency, loyalty, timing. While others focused on visibility, he focused on reliability. While others chased influence, he built trust. And now, that trust is paying off. Because as the monarchy slowly transitions toward the future, toward William, those closest to that future gain importance. And Edward has positioned himself perfectly, not against Camilla, but away from her. That distinction matters, because this isn't open conflict, it's silent positioning. And in royal politics, that's far more powerful. Public reaction reflects this shift. People are noticing Edward more, respecting his work, trusting his presence. Meanwhile, Camilla's declining approval creates uncertainty, not immediate danger, but vulnerability. And in a system built on perception, that matters. The aftermath is still developing. But one thing is clear: the monarchy is changing, not through dramatic events, but through quiet moves, careful choices, and strategic silence. These stories provide insight into how power really works inside institutions like the royal family. It's not always about who speaks the loudest. Sometimes, it's about who moves the smartest. And right now, all signs suggest that after decades in the background,